What is up, people, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode here at the American Grand Prix for round 17 of this first season. And if you are new to this series and to this channel, go click that subscribe button straight away, and also you can go catch up with the rest of the series with the card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screens. But we are here for round 17, the American Grand Prix, and this first season is starting to come to a close. Only 4 races left in the season. There is still a lot to be decided. But first of all, before we get into the racing action, let's jump into the practice sessions, get some resource points for the team. Of course, we will be spending those resource points at the end of the season before season 2, and hopefully then we can maybe try and jump above the likes of the Williams and of course the Force Indias as well. But there we go, ending practice 1, doing the track acclimatization and getting P19 in the first session. Now coming around the final corner once again, this time around doing the tyre wear test. I've really struggled in recent races to get the tyre wear test in the purple score, and this time again only getting a green score for the tyre wear test. So it seems like me being a smooth driver has kind of switched into being a faster driver. Hopefully that will mean that we do better in the qualifying sessions, but it seems to be, lacking a little bit in keeping myself smooth and not wearing the tyres so much. But we do get a purple score there in the fuel management one, so that's really good indeed. Now through the final corner once again, here we go on the qualifying test. Flickering just about between getting over the green score and being underneath it, but luckily we just about got over the target time there, getting P13, and yeah, managed to get 30 points on board for the team. Now through the final corner once again, this time around doing the race strategy, and there we go, getting the purple score for that one. So all in all, a pretty good run of practice sessions and getting the practice objectives. I think we got, about 75% of all the different points that were available to us. So that's not too bad at the end of the day. Ending the second practice session in P16, quite a bit off the pace of my teammates, over a second right now. But we will be quicker as we go into the qualifying session. Of course, we will be running on a better engine there. So fingers crossed we can make up that ground and possibly challenge with Nico Hülkenberg in the qualifying session. But that is it for practice. Let's head over to qualifying for the American Grand Prix.
We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix.
Here we go then, qualifying time for the American Grand Prix. As we come around the final corner now to end our first lap in this qualifying session. There we go, setting a 1:37.128. Not the best lap time, but so far that is an improvement on the lap time that we set in the practice session. So far so good, but we need to start improving on that lap time even more. So far we are only good enough to beat the likes of the McLarens and the Saubers, but coming across the line once again, we do improve on that lap time by over a second. We're now on a 1:35.996. Now that might just get us through into Q2. We're going out for one more lap anyway, even though we are safe at the moment in P15. But we've seen it so many times where we've crossed the line in a good position, but then all the other drivers set lap times behind us and they managed to beat us in the qualifying session. But coming across the line there, what is lap time good enough for? It's good enough for 13th position in Q1, and that indeed does get us into the second qualifying session, beating Nico Hülkenberg there. So 1:35.6. There was little separating myself all the way down to Fernando Alonso in P16 at the end of the day. But we are into Q2, and here we are seeing what we can do in this qualifying session. So far so good at 1:36.0, but we do know that we can improve on that lap time. However, Lance Stroll seems to be a little bit slower than us here today. We are in P14 at the moment, so that is not good enough to get into Q3. Coming down towards the line once again, we do improve on our lap time, but we don't improve in terms of position. A 1:35.7 at the moment, just not good enough. And here we are on the final lap of this qualifying session, at the halfway stage of the lap, coming round this left and in towards this very tricky technical section of the circuit of the Americas track here. So here we go in towards this stadium section now, through this left hander, very tricky under braking as you're always braking around a corner, then through the fast triple right hander now at this American Grand Prix. So at the moment we're about 2.5 tenths up on our previous best lap time. Nico Hülkenberg currently in 13th place in this qualifying session, through the penultimate corner, down towards the final corner now, still flickering around the 2 tenths margin, quicker than our best time. Here we go, down towards the line. What is the lap time gonna be good enough for? Will it get us into Q3 at the end of the day? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. It is only good enough for P13 in the qualifying session, but did it beat Nico Hülkenberg at the end of the day. And no, he didn't, unfortunately. Nico Hülkenberg does get into Q3. Beat us by seconds. That is a phenomenal lap time there from Nico Hülkenberg to get into P7. We are unfortunately out of today's qualifying session though in P13, along with Esteban Ocon, Kevin Magnussen, Romain Grosjean and Felipe Massa. But what can we do from 13th on the grid? Let's find out as we head over to the race for the American Grand Prix.
With me today is Anthony Davidson, a man who knows this circuit quite well. Why do you think, though, Ants, that this Grand Prix has now found such huge success since returning to the calendar in 2012?
Well, full credit to the race promoters. They have a Grand Prix in a part of the country famed for its love of motorsport, and they do a fantastic job of advertising it to the right crowd, and then satisfying them when they're here with excellent facilities. It also tends to help when the circuit itself is good, and that's definitely true here. The layout is interesting and it produces some exciting action. Hosting a thrilling title decider like we had in 2015 wouldn't hurt either, so the pressure's on then to maintain that kind of quality here today.
Before we get into today's race, though, let's run you through the starting grid for this American Grand Prix. And lining up in pole position for today's race is the Ferrari man of Sebastian Vettel, the championship leader, with Daniel Ricciardo alongside him in second place. Then on the second row of the grid, we have Kimi Räikkönen in third and Max Verstappen in fourth, mimicking that front row. Then we have Esteban Ocon in fifth, myself up in sixth after penalties, Lewis Hamilton down in seventh, Alonso up to eighth, Stoffel Van Dorn ninth, Marcus Ericsson 10th, Sergio Perez 11th, Pascal Wehrlein 12th, then Valtteri Bottas in 13th, Magnussen 15th, Sainz in 15th, Massa in 16th, Stroll in 17th, Grosjean 18th, then we have Danny Kvyat and my teammate Nico Hülkenberg right at the back of the field. So once again, just like in Malaysia and in Japan, we are seeing a lot of penalties throughout the field, and for us, those put us up into P6 for today's race. There's good news for ourselves, and looking at the race strategy for today, the team wanting us to go for this two-stop strategy of the ultra soft, super softs, then softs, which I believe is the best one to go for. I'm not too good on the tyres around this circuit, so we do want to try and at least get it to the end of the race. Here we are, starting the American Grand Prix as we go to 5 red lights. It is lights out, and away we go for today's race. Is a great start compared to Esteban Ocon on the right-hand side. Up the inside, down in towards turn 1, though. Here we go, 3 wide with Verstappen and Kimi Räikkönen there. I think Kimi Räikkönen got forced out wide there by Max Verstappen. We've moved up into 3rd position. What an incredible start here at today's American Grand Prix. Looks like everybody has got through smoothly. At the moment, we've got a Toro Rosso. Looked like it went off the edge of the screen. I think that was a Toro Rosso. I believe it is Carlos Sainz. I'm not 100% sure. He has dropped down to the back of the standing orders at the moment. So I believe that is Carlos Sainz who has had a problem through the S's. But he is not out of the Grand Prix. He is still running. So unfortunately, it's just a little bit of a knock there for the Toro Rosso driver. Sebastian Vettel has latched right onto that gearbox of Daniel Ricciardo. Will the championship leader regain the lead of today's race? Of course, he started in pole position here today, but Daniel Ricciardo took that away from him down in towards someone. Here goes Sebastian Vettel on the left-hand side. He gets the job done, and Sebastian Vettel moves up into the lead of this American Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo, unfortunately for him, having to settle for P2 for the time being. But with all the other Mercedes and Ferrari drivers being further down the field, he might have a really good chance of finishing on the podium here today. As we watch a replay of Carlos Sainz go side by side with Kevin Magnussen in towards the S's section. And yeah, just gets a little touch there from the house driver. There wasn't a lot of contact, so I'm not really going to say that was Kevin Magnussen's fault. He did give him enough room, but it's just very, very tight through that corner. So unfortunately for Kevin Magnussen, there was nothing that he really could have done at the end of the day. So we're watching this battle form between myself, Daniel Ricciardo, and Max Verstappen for second place at the moment. Going to get DRS on the Red Bull driver. Also got to be aware of Max Verstappen running behind us at the moment, using DRS to full advantage, gaining on the Red Bull driver ahead of us. Going to dive it up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo in towards this left-hander. We lock up a little bit on the front left tyre, but there we go, getting through into the left-handed. Ricciardo comes back up the inside, but can we defend from him? No, we can't. Ricciardo regains second place and backs off. Did he brake checks me? We go up the inside into the stadium section, still side by side between myself and Daniel Ricciardo, but it looks like we have got the job done, and there we go, up into second place for today's American Grand Prix. And I said Daniel Ricciardo looked like he was on for a podium here today. That may have just changed. If I am quicker than him at today's race, then that gives me a really good opportunity to maybe get past those guys and get onto the podium myself. Of course, we've only got one podium this season. That was the race win back at the Monaco Grand Prix. We, of course, would like to have more podiums this season, but we're in a car right now where we're not really exactly fighting for podiums. We're watching on board now with Pascal Wehrlein. The yellow flags have come out. Is that a mechanical issue for Pascal Wehrlein. Yes, it is. And he nearly cuts across the rest of the drivers. Very, very lucky that Nico Hülkenberg backed off and let Pascal Wehrlein cut across him there. But that was close there from Pascal Wehrlein, who was unfortunately out of today's race. We're now watching this battle unfold for second place. So Lewis Hamilton, who started in 7th place for today's race, right behind me, has managed to make his way up into 3rd at the moment. Now he is hunting me down for P2. Here he goes on the left-hand side. Lewis Hamilton is going to be so much quicker in a straight line all the way down in towards this left-hand. There's nothing that we have in the tank to fight with, and Lewis Hamilton moves up into 2nd place. We're still on the podium though, so I must stress that we are still on the podium for today's race. There is still a really, really good chance that we could get a really decent result in today's American Grand Prix. Of course, we did start in P6, so we would prefer to score above that, but of course we're not as quick in this game as the Red Bulls, the Ferraris and the Mercedes, is now coming under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo. So it looks like he's picked up a bit of pace where he was struggling at the start of today's race. So here we go down this very, very long back straight. Daniel Ricciardo is going to get slipstream and DRS on us. Here he goes using the slipstream. Now the DRS is open as he's going to switch over to left-hand side, which he does. Left-hand side on myself, down in towards this very tricky left-hander. Can Kimi Räikkönen have a look as well? We're going to brake very, very late to try and hold it around the outside, locking up the front left tyre, but just running out wide, getting forced out by Daniel Ricciardo. And now side by side with Kimi Räikkönen. Can he get the job done? Hanging around the outside. We squeeze him out on the exit of the corner, and we managed to hold on to P4. But unfortunately, losing that podium position to Daniel Ricciardo here today, which is a little bit unfortunate at today's American Grand Prix. But right now, we are still holding on to P4, sorry, ahead of 5th place man Kimi Räikkönen and of course Valtteri Bottas as well. So watching Romain Grosjean at the moment. Now he's trying to fend off the McLaren behind him, which I believe he has got the job done on the McLaren. Of course, McLaren Honda very, very slow on this game, so Romain Grosjean should make a very easy job of keeping those guys behind him. He's got Nico Hülkenberg not too far off him as well. So the yellow flags have come out. Is that a mechanical issue there for, yes it is a mechanical issue for Romain Grosjean, who is unfortunately out of today's race here today on lap 7. Unfortunately, just couldn't make it any further than lap 7 of this American Grand Prix. Now we have Kimi Räikkönen right on our tail. Valtteri Bottas is not too far away either. So both these guys will be looking to try and get past me down this back straight. Here goes Kimi Räikkönen on the left-hand side. Can he get the job done? We're going to try and hold it around the outside, but once again, just have nothing in the tank left to fight for, and Kimi Räikkönen locking up massively down to that corner, but because he is just so much better in that Ferrari, it allows him to hold on to the position for the time being. But I've still got Valtteri Bottas behind me. It's probably going to be a matter of time before he gets past me, and then it's going to be a case of trying to defend from the Force India. Of course, we are battling with the Force Indias in this championship. As now we've got Valtteri Bottas right at our tail, but we dart into the pit lane for the first pit stop of today's American Grand Prix here on lap 8. So, what's the pit stop going to be from the Renault crew? Of course, we need it to be quicker than the Mercedes team, but of course, because we are so far down the garage, I was going to say maybe if another driver came into the pits, that might hold up Valtteri Bottas, but nobody else is coming into the pits at the moment. It's a 2.4 second stop there from the Renault crew, which is pretty decent. 2.4 seconds is not too bad, and that does mean that we come out back ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Now, I have a very different line compared to Valtteri Bottas when it comes to coming out the pit lane. I like to go very, very wide and then sort of clip the apex. I didn't really expect Valtteri Bottas to put his nose up the inside. Luckily, the two of us managed to avoid contact through them. We do hold on to this P16 where we have come out at the moment. Behind the McLaren of, I believe there's Stoffel Van Dorn. Yes, there's Stoffel Van Dorn at the moment, 0.8 of a second ahead of me out on track. So we may have a really good opportunity to get past Stoffel Van Dorn all the way down in towards that back straight. But we're going to have Valtteri Bottas on our tail as well. He's going to get DRS on me, and he's so much quicker with that Mercedes engine in the back of his car. So here we go on the back straight, following in the slipstream of Stoffel Van Dorn. What can we do on the McLaren driver? Here we go, right on the tail, going to pull over to the left-hand side. Very, very late move there to the left-hand side, taking as much slipstream as we possibly can there. Now, Valtteri Bottas going for the overtake on the left-hand side. Can he get the job done up the inside into this corner? We lock up, try and hold it around the outside, but just can't fight that Mercedes. That Mercedes is just way too quick for us in this season. Unfortunately, we do gain a position, but we get it taken away straight away by Valtteri Bottas. We moved up into P16 momentarily, and then back down into P17, and Stoffel van Dorn loses 2 positions in the space of 1 straight. There's now watching this battle unfold between Danny Kvyat and Valtteri Bottas. So Valtteri Bottas right on the back of Danny Kvyat at the moment as we go through these S's section. At the moment, there's a front left puncher there for Valtteri Bottas, which nearly caught me out. I nearly went straight into the back of Valtteri Bottas. That pushes me up into P13 at the moment. But Valtteri Bottas with that front right puncher, that's disaster for the Mercedes man, dropping down to P15 at the moment as we've got Max Verstappen coming under pressure from Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton right on the back of these guys. Alonso's got the job done, so McLaren Honda is quicker than a Red Bull here. That is incredible. Max Verstappen must definitely have mechanical issues. Lewis Hamilton goes round the outside in towards the stadium section. There's contact between the two of them. Max Verstappen goes onto the grass in a spin, and he was battling for 4th position, but now look at him, he's just dropping way down the field, losing so many positions in today's race, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that's going to push him way down the field. There's even more contact. The Force India driver just goes straight into the side of Max Verstappen. And you've got to say, Max Verstappen, what on earth were you doing through there? He just parked it right in the middle of the circuit. Didn't give Sergio Perez much room to really go round the Red Bull driver, and Sergio Perez just drives straight into him after contact as well, just sort of drove into him to show his frustration in today's race, and that's really unfortunate. I'm not too sure what on earth has gone on there, and now the safety car has finally been deployed, so a lot of debris out on track. We have Bottas's puncher, and we also have Max Verstappen spinning it and then crashing on the grass, so yeah, of course the safety car was going to come out at the end of the day. There's just way too much debris on the track right now, and that is I'm not too sure whether that's going to help us too much. It's going to help the drivers who were going longer in their first stint in the race. Of course, those drivers who started on the likes of the super softs and the softs, they get to take their pit stop around about now, and so that's really going to help them with the safety car coming out. It kind of gives them not quite a free pit stop, but helps them with a bit of time and helps them to move up the field. So we're watching on board the replay now of Max Verstappen. So Alonso gets the job done, down in towards that left-hander, down the back straight. Then he tries to hold it up the inside on Lewis Hamilton. Now, did Lewis Hamilton give him enough room? Lewis Hamilton, to be fair to him, did give Max Verstappen enough room. There was a little bit of correction on the steering wheel from Max Verstappen, and that is what cost him to go into Lewis Hamilton. There we go. Sergio Perez literally had nowhere to go at the end of the day. Was caught sort of off-sighted where Max Verstappen was, and there we go. So he just sort of drives into Max Verstappen to show his frustration. Perez so frustrated in this race. He's damaged his front wing. He's way down at the back of the field in P17 at the moment as the safety car is coming in on this lap. So you have the standings on the left-hand side. You also have the live driver points. Of course, he only got 4 races left in this championship. Sebastian Vettel winning today's race at the moment. That's going to help him increase his championship lead over the likes of Kimi Raikkonen and Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen not even in the points at the moment. And Valtteri Bottas is, in fact, 1 lap down right now. So it looks like Valtteri Bottas isn't going to be scoring any points here today, but the safety car is coming in this lap. We are green and racing once again as we go up the inside straight away on Marcus Ericsson, sort of forcing him out wide on the XL that corner, but we get the job done. Move up into P9. It's kind of cost us a little bit of time there to the likes of Daniel Ricciardo, but they are in a bit of a train right now as Carlos Sainz is out of today's race. So straight after the safety car restart, Carlos Sainz has had a mechanical issue, which we are going to get a replay of now. So what on earth happened to Carlos Sainz? Was there contact? No, there was just an engine failure. Look, you can see the smoke pouring out the back of that car. He pulls over to the left-hand side, just sort of try and get out of everybody's way, and moves out of the way for Max Verstappen, I think that is, and then moves over to the right-hand side and is out of today's race, parking it at exactly the same spot that Roman Grosjean stopped earlier. So that seems like it's becoming a very popular parking spot in today's American Grand Prix, but gaining a couple of positions now as we move up into P5 as drivers around us take their pit stop, and now going down in towards the start finish straight once again here on lap 16, and we're going to move past Sebastian Vettel, who now comes into pit. So up into P4 at the moment. We have Daniel Ricciardo ahead of us. I believe Lewis Hamilton is ahead as well, and I'm not too sure who the other leader. I think it might be Kimi Raikkonen as another driver comes into pits. 2 drivers in fact come into pits, which were Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton. So at the moment it now is Kimi Raikkonen leading today's race. And I can tell you, he's doing a one-stopper here today. So, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton need to hunt him down if they want to help their chances in the championship and winning today's race. Of course, I'm battling with these two at the moment. And as it stands, the gap between Raikkonen and Vettel will be 20 points in the championship if everything stays as it is. But we've got to defend against Sebastian Vettel to hold on to his P2, going very defensive down in towards turn 1, hugging the inside line. But Sebastian Vettel just swoops around the outside, and then he gets the job done in towards turn 2, and Sebastian Vettel moves up into second position for today's race. We are down into third. So that now means that the gap between Vettel and Raikkonen in the championship has changed to 23 points. So we need, well, Raikkonen needs Sebastian Vettel to have a disaster in today's race to really close down the championship lead that Sebastian Vettel has at this stage of the season. Looks like Lewis Hamilton is now going to go for the overtake on us as well. Unfortunately, losing the podium position. Lewis Hamilton on the left-hand side once again. Nothing that we can do to fight that Mercedes driver, and he moves up into P3 for today. We are down into P4 for this American Grand Prix, but we still have a really good position to try and hold on to. But unfortunately, we've got Nico Hülkenberg behind us, and he is doing a completely different strategy to us. So we are going to sort of let through Nico Hülkenberg. We're not going to fight him, but we're not going to slow down and let him through either. So here we are on lap 20 at the moment. We've got Nico Hülkenberg right on our tail at the moment to go down in towards the final corner. And if he goes for that overtake, I'm not going to fight him at all. There's no point me fighting my teammate. Of course, we want to try and get 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. And the best way to do that is to not fight each other, you know, give each other position if we're on a different strategy, running a little bit wide into turn 1 just to give Nico Hülkenberg the safety and the gap down in towards that corner. Make sure that we don't have any contact. And there we go. Nico Hülkenberg now up into P4, and he can go push on in this race. He needs to stay ahead of the likes of the Toro Rossos, but most importantly, the Force Indias. He needs to stay ahead of the 2 Force Indias. Otherwise, we will lose out on points in the championship. But here we are on lap 21. I believe it is time for us to come into the pits for our second pit stop, and yes, it is. Here we go, coming into the pits now for our second pit stop in today's race. So at the moment, it is a pretty decent race for us at this American Grand Prix. We're in P5 before coming into the pits. We are going to drop down the field, obviously, at the moment. But we are also changing up our strategy for today's race. So, the team wanted me to go ultra softs, super softs, then softs. But because the safety car came out, and we're a little bit better on our tyres than I thought I was going to be, we're going to go for ultra softs in this final stint, which means that we can push like hell to try and overtake the drivers who have just got past us. Because at the moment, we're way down in 13th position, which would mean 0 points after today's race. But we are behind the McLaren Honda of Fernando Alonso. So the question is, when can we get past Alonso? It's going to be, you know, it's pretty much guaranteed that we will get past Alonso. We are on a quicker car, and we are on better tyres at this stage of the race. So it's just going to be a question of when can we get past Alonso and when can we get past the other drivers. But at the moment, here we are on board with the championship leader. Sebastian Vettel currently running in second place with Kimi Raikkonen in the lead and Lewis Hamilton in third place. The three championship leaders currently running 1, 2, and 3 at the moment. There's the yellow flag out right now, and it's Sebastian Vettel as he pulls over to the side of the road. Sebastian Vettel is out of today's American Grand Prix. That puts Kimi Raikkonen now only 5 points behind Sebastian Vettel if the championship and if the race was to end like this. And here we are gaining on Fernando Alonso. We move over to the left-hand side, move very, very late once again, taking as much slipstream as we possibly can all the way down in towards this left-hander, and now moving up into P12, which will be P11 after we get past Sebastian Vettel's stricken car here. And there we are, moving up into P12 ahead of Alonso. Now in P11 at the moment, there is Sebastian Vettel on the right-hand side. We have Max Verstappen ahead of us, who I believe has got issues in today's race. So now battling for 10th position. The gap was 1.7 seconds when we crossed the last sector, and Max Verstappen going so slowly through that fast right-hander really caught me off guard. I had to go off track to go for the overtake just because he was so slow and in my way. He is now darting in the pit, so there was no point giving him back that position as he was coming into the pit lane anyway. Now we're cutting ahead to lap 24, right on the back of Kevin Magnussen in today's race. So we are into the points at the moment, but we want more. We want more points out of today's race. We're going to try and take it now from Kevin Magnussen. We move over to the left-hand side, all the way down this back straight. It's a fairly simple overtake at the end of the day. We get the car turned in, and there we go, job done. Moving up into P9, and up next for us is Lance Stroll in that Williams as we move up into P9, and that is 2 points at the moment in today's race. But now, unfortunately, we are not able to push on and catch up to Lance Stroll. We're actually coming under pressure from his teammate of Felipe Massa. So here we go, down the back straight. Of course, Felipe Massa going to be so much quicker than me down this straight, so much quicker in a straight line on this game. He gets the DRS. He's also got the inside line, but we're going to brake a lot later on these ultra soft tyres. Try to go around the outside, which we have done. That's a great defensive maneuver to hold it around the outside of that corner. It's very easy to get bullied out wide and forced off the track through there, but we said no. We held on to it, and we've got the move done on Felipe Massa, holding on to P9 at the moment. You can see Mercedes behind us, but that's actually Valtteri Bottas, who is 1 lap down, so we don't really have to worry about him at all in this race. But here we go, on to the penultimate lap of today's race. Felipe Massa is hunting me down at the moment. We go down in towards this left-hander once again. Massa on the inside. We're going to have to go round the outside once again of Massa. Can we hold it? We try to do so. Massa still side by side with myself. Up the inside now through this right-hander. Still holding its will-to-will between the two of us. But there we go. Once again holding on to the position of P9 ahead of Felipe Massa. The gap is just over 1/10 of a second between us at the moment. So Massa very, very eager to get past me right now. He's so much quicker, so much better on his tyres. His tyres are a little bit less worn than my own. I've really pushed these ultra soft tyres. Unfortunately, they are starting to fall off the cliff at the end of the race. I probably should have gone on to super soft tyres for that stint, but unfortunately, I just decided not to. And now going to come under pressure once again from Felipe Massa. He moves over to the left-hand side. He's got the inside line now down towards someone. We push him over to the left-hand side to try and get the better line than him around the outside through turn 1. Will it be enough? No, it's not, unfortunately. Just sort of get hung out to dry around the outside of turn 1, and Felipe Massa does move up into the 9th position of today's race. Unfortunately, losing out on a point here today. It's going to be 1 point at the moment in today's American Grand Prix, which at the moment isn't really good enough. I was hoping to have a lot more, especially starting up in P6, but I really struggled all weekend at this circuit. Here is the man, Kimi Raikkonen, who is now going to go within 5 points of the championship lead of Sebastian Vettel. He comes through the final corner now and wins the American Grand Prix. That's a fantastic result there for Kimi Raikkonen. 5 points now separating Vettel and Raikkonen, and Lewis Hamilton is not too far away from Sebastian Vettel either, as he comes home in P2. Unfortunately for Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen, it's going to be 0 points scored for both of those guys. They're way down the field in today's race. But that's your race winner, Kimi Raikkonen, here today. Fantastic result for him, and he's going to be very, very happy with that. The one-stop strategy doing bits for him here today really, really helped him to get that race win over the rest of the field. And Daniel Ricciardo finishes in P3. Unfortunately, we haven't got anything in the tank to battle with Felipe Massa at this stage of the race. Unfortunately, we're going to have to give up on that maneuver. But Nico Hülkenberg, my teammate, finishes in P4. So that's a great result there for Nico Hülkenberg. Danny Kvyat in 5th, with Sergio Perez, the 4th senior driver, in 6th. Lance Stroll 7th. Esteban Ocon in 8th. And of course, Felipe Massa in 9th. But we're going to come around the final corner now. It's going to be 1 point here today, the American Grand Prix, which is sort of disappointing, but it is still points on the board. So that brings a close to today's American Grand Prix. Kimi Raikkonen is the winner here today. The only one of the leaders to do the one-stop. Looks like the one-stop strategy was the best strategy to go for. Looks like Nico Hülkenberg, Kvyat really gained from that as well, getting themselves way up the field. Both those guys started on the back row of the grid, and then Nico Hülkenberg finished in 4th and Danny Kvyat finished in 5th. Looks like Lance Stroll really helped him as well. So he did the two-stop strategy. So looks like, you know, it did kind of work on the two-stop strategy for some guys, but unfortunately for me, it just didn't work. Maybe I'm just not quick at this American Grand Prix, and for next season, we do need to find some pace. But Kimi Raikkonen wins here today, with Lewis Hamilton finishing in 2nd, and Daniel Ricciardo joining them on the podium. Then we have Nico Hülkenberg 4th, Danny Kvyat 5th, Sergio Perez, after that collision with Max Verstappen, still manages to come home in P6 with Lance Stroll in 7th, Esteban Ocon in 8th, and Felipe Massa in 9th. It is myself getting the final championship point at today's race, with Kevin Magnussen, Fernando Alonso, and Stoffel Van Dorn just missing out on the points here today. further down the field, and we have Marcus Ericsson in P14, Max Verstappen all the way down in 15th place, then we have Valtteri Bottas way down the field in 16th. Unfortunately for those two drivers, Bottas caught getting that puncher, really cost him in today's race, and Max Verstappen having problems with Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, putting himself onto a spin, and of course I think he had a mechanical issue later on in the race as well. Then we have 4 drivers who did not finish here today. The championship leader of Sebastian Vettel really cost him here today in terms of the championship. Carlos Sainz in P18, then Roman Grosjean 19th, and Pascal Wehrlein was the first driver to not finish thanks to a mechanical failure to his car. Drivers' Championship then, after 17 rounds of this season, and there are only 5 points separating Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen as we go into the final 3 races of the season. Which Ferrari man is going to come out on top? Or will it be a Mercedes? Of course, we do have Lewis Hamilton as well, 23 points behind, so it is still mathematically possible for Lewis Hamilton to be within a chance of battling for the championship. Unfortunately for Valtteri Bottas, it is all over for him. His hopes of the championship will have to move on to season 2, and the 2 Red Bull drivers, they weren't going to win the championship at the end of the day. They are just sort of the best of the rest team, but Max Verstappen at the moment ahead of his teammate of Daniel Ricciardo. We are still holding on to P7 though. Esteban Ocon gaining a few points on us here today. We're on 87, whereas he is on 78, so 9 points is now the gap between the two of us. Sergio Perez gaining a little bit as well, but Nico Hülkenberg, my teammate, moves into the top 10 in the standings, ahead of Felipe Massa right now, 2 points ahead of him. So can he stay there by the end of the season? We're just going to have to wait and see for that one. And finally, the Constructors' Championship. Good points here today for Nico Hülkenberg. That's really going to help us gain on Force India in the championship. The gap between the two teams is now 10 points in the championship. So 10 points is the gap going into the final 3 races of this season. It's still going to be difficult to try and catch up to the Force India team, but we will see what we can do over those final 3 races. But that's it for the American Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so for daily Formula 1 content, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. And I will see you next time at the Mexican Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye from me.